The lights inside the empty office flickered softly as the rain beat down on the wide windows. Keanu Reeves stood still near the doorway, holding a paper cup of lukewarm coffee. He had arrived early for a quiet interview with a local nonprofit magazine. No cameras, no handlers, just a conversation. He liked it that way. But something felt off. It was that strange feeling that comes when the world quiets just a little too much. The kind of silence that presses against your chest, makes your skin tighten. Keanu looked around the room. It was plain. Beige walls, worn-out carpet, a cracked clock on the wall that had stopped ticking at 3:14. The editor had told him to wait in this room for a few minutes. The interview would start soon. As he took another sip, Keanu heard something. A small, dry cough. It wasn't coming from outside, not from the hallway. It was from inside the room. He frowned, putting his cup down slowly on the wooden table. He walked across the room, his footsteps soft, but sure. The cough came again. This time, it was followed by the faint sound of someone sniffing as if they were trying to hold back tears. His eyes scanned the room again. Nothing seemed unusual, until he noticed the large desk pushed into the corner. It was covered in old folders and scattered pens. Most people wouldn't even glance under it. But Keanu bent down slowly, and that's when he saw him. A small boy, maybe 9 or 10, curled up under the desk like a frightened animal. He was wearing a hoodie 2 sizes, too big, torn at the elbow. His shoes were scuffed and one of the laces was broken. His face was pale, streaked with dirt, and his eyes, those eyes, were wide and filled with something deeper than fear. Keanu didn't speak right away. He didn't want to scare the boy more than he already was. Instead, he slowly lowered himself to the floor, sitting cross-legged a few feet away. The boy stared at him like he wasn't sure if he was real or just another shadow. "You okay down there?" Keanu asked gently. The boy didn't answer. He looked down at his hands. They were shaking. "My name's Keanu," he added. "What's yours?" Still, no answer. Just another sniff. Keanu looked around. The room was too cold, too empty, and the rain outside had only grown heavier. Thunder rolled in the distance, low and threatening. "Are you hungry?" Keanu asked, keeping his voice low. The boy gave a tiny nod. Without saying a word, Keanu reached into his coat pocket and pulled out a granola bar he'd grabbed earlier. He slid it across the floor slowly, watching as the boy's eyes followed. The boy hesitated, then grabbed it quickly and stuffed it into his pocket like someone might steal it from him. Keanu felt his heart twist. "Don't worry," he said softly. "That's for you." Finally, the boy whispered something. "Tyler." Keanu smiled. "Hi, Tyler." The boy looked down again, chewing on the edge of his sleeve. "Do you live here?" Keanu asked, even though he already knew the answer. A nod. "How long?" "Couple weeks," Tyler said, voice almost invisible. Keanu didn't move. He just sat there in silence with him, letting the weight of the truth settle in the room. The office belonged to a small community press. No security. No one would expect a child to be hiding in here. Maybe Tyler snuck in at night and hid when people showed up. Maybe no one noticed. But Keanu noticed. "Are you here alone?" Tyler hesitated. Then, barely audible, "My mom died." Keanu closed his eyes for a second. He felt something press deep inside his chest. Something old and painful. He remembered loss. He remembered what it was like to feel like the world had taken everything away. "What about your dad?" "Don't got one." Keanu didn't ask more. He didn't need to. Sometimes the silence between words speaks louder than the questions. The door creaked open suddenly. A woman with glasses and a clipboard stepped in, clearly not expecting anyone else in the room. Her eyes widened when she saw Keanu on the floor. "Oh, I didn't know you were already here." Then she spotted Tyler. "Wait, what? Who is that?" Keanu stood up slowly, placing a hand gently on the edge of the desk to steady himself. "This is Tyler," he said calmly. "He's been sleeping here." The woman looked stunned. Her clipboard fell to her side. We didn't know." I had no idea. He needs help, Keanu said simply. More than an interview. The woman's voice cracked. We'll call child services right away. But Keanu shook his head gently. Let's not do that just yet. She blinked. What? I'll take responsibility. Just give me a minute. She hesitated, unsure of what to say. But something in Keanu's voice, something in the way he looked back at the boy under the desk, made her nod. When she left, Keanu knelt again. Do you trust me, Tyler? The boy stared at him for a long time. Then slowly he crawled out from under the desk. His knees were scraped and there were old bruises on his arms. But he stood up, one shaky leg after another. Yeah, Tyler said. Keanu reached out his hand. And for the first time in what must have been weeks, Tyler took someone's hand without fear. Keanu didn't take him to a fancy hotel or a mansion. He took him to a small apartment he rented in the city. Quiet, humble. Just enough space. For two. It smelled of coffee and old books. There were photos on the wall, most of them faded. Tyler didn't speak much that first night. He sat on the couch, curled up with a blanket, holding the granola bar like it was gold. Keanu made soup. He didn't ask questions. He didn't push. He just let the boy be. When Tyler fell asleep, Keanu sat across the room and watched the storm finally pass. He thought about the strange way life worked. How one moment you're waiting for an interview, and the next, you're sharing your home with a child who's lost everything. But the truth was, Keanu had lost too. He had lost his best friend, his lover, his unborn child. Pieces of himself were scattered through the years. Maybe this boy, this scared little soul, had come into his life not just to be saved, but to heal something broken in him too. The next morning, Tyler woke up to the smell of pancakes. His eyes were heavy, but his heart felt lighter. For the first time in a long time, he wasn't cold. He wasn't scared. Keanu sat at the kitchen table, humming softly. Morning, he said with a smile. Tyler blinked. Is this real? Keanu nodded. Yeah, it's real. The boy didn't say much, but he ate like someone who didn't know when his next meal might come. Keanu noticed every bite. They didn't talk about school, or social workers, or where Tyler would go next. Not yet. Instead, they played chess that afternoon. Or rather, Keanu tried to teach him. Tyler didn't know the rules, but he was a quick learner. You're not bad, Keanu said after Tyler managed to corner his rook. You're just slow, Tyler said with a tiny grin. Keanu laughed. It was the first time he had heard the boy joke. But later that night, the laughter faded. Keanu walked past the guest room and heard Tyler crying into the pillow. Soft, hidden sobs. He didn't go in. Not yet. He let the boy have his space. Sometimes pain has to move through the body before it can leave. But he left a note on the nightstand. You're safe now. You're not alone. Sleep well, Tyler. Keanu, the days passed. Keanu reached out quietly to someone he trusted, an old friend who worked in child protection but off the books. He didn't want Tyler thrown into a system that would treat him like a number. He wanted something better. You're putting yourself at risk, his friend told him. Then it's worth it, Keanu replied. The more he learned about Tyler's past, the more the pieces came together. His mom had worked in a diner. She had gotten sick. No insurance, no help. She died in a shelter bathroom. No one claimed her body. Tyler had run, and no one came looking. It haunted Keanu. This world moved so fast it forgot people. It crushed the weak. It buried the poor. But not this time. Not if he could help it. And so began the quiet fight. Keanu got Tyler a doctor's checkup using a false last name. He bought him new clothes. They walked around the park. They read books together. They watched old movies. Slowly, gently, the boy began to laugh again, began to trust, but every smile came with shadows. Tyler had nightmares. He'd wake up screaming, shaking, sometimes crying for his mom. Keanu would sit by his side, holding his hand, whispering calm into the dark. You're safe, he would say again and again. I've got you. The bond between them grew not because of grand gestures but because of the quiet ones, the moments that happened when no one was watching, the kindness that asked for nothing in return. Keanu wasn't trying to be a hero, he was just being human. But the story was only just beginning, because one day, a stranger saw Tyler's photo in the background of a paparazzi shot, and everything changed. Tyler's laughter echoed across the apartment as he tried to beat Keanu at chess again. The boy was starting to open up. Each day brought a little more light to his eyes, a little more color to his voice. He still had nightmares, still froze whenever someone raised their voice, but now he smiled more. Asked questions. Ate like a growing kid. Keanu felt something deep inside him shift, something he hadn't felt in a long time. Maybe it was purpose. Maybe it was healing. Maybe it was the simple joy of helping someone else find peace. But just when things started to feel normal, everything began to unravel. It started with a knock. Keanu was chopping vegetables for dinner when he heard it. 3 quick knocks at the door. Nothing unusual, but his gut tensed. He wiped his hands and walked to the door. When he opened it, a tall man in a dark gray coat stood there holding a photo. The man didn't smile. "Mr. Reeves?" he asked. Keanu nodded slowly. "Sorry to bother you. I'm from Child Protective Services." Keanu's heart sank. The man showed his badge. It was real. "We received a call this morning. A tip came in. Someone said they saw a missing boy in a photo from last week." Keanu didn't move. The photo. A week ago, a paparazzi had snapped a blurry photo of Keanu leaving a bookstore with Tyler walking, just a step behind him. Tyler's hood had been up, but his face was visible just enough. The photo had gone viral for a short time. Keanu Reeves visits bookshop with mystery boy. No one paid much attention, just gossip. Until now. "May I come in?" the man asked. Keanu hesitated, then opened the door. Tyler was sitting on the couch reading a comic book. His eyes widened when he saw the man step inside. "Tyler," the man said gently, "my name is Josh. I'm here to make sure you're okay." Tyler shrank back into the couch, clutching the comic book like a shield. "It's okay," Keanu said softly, sitting beside him. "No one's going to hurt you." "I want to stay here," Tyler whispered. Josh sighed. "This isn't about taking you away. I just need to understand what's going on." Keanu led him to the kitchen and poured him a cup of tea. For the next 30 minutes, Keanu told Josh everything. How he found Tyler under the desk. How the boy had no one left. How he had been taking care of him quietly. Josh listened without judgment. "You did the right thing by helping him," he said. "But this is complicated." "I know," Keanu replied. "But don't make him go through the system. He's been through enough." Josh nodded slowly. "Do you have any legal guardianship?" "Not yet." "Then technically he's a ward of the state." Those words hit like ice. "But," Josh continued, "there are exceptions. You're not some stranger. If we can prove it's a safe environment, and Tyler wants to stay, we can look at emergency placement, even long-term guardianship." "How long would that take?" "Weeks, months sometimes." Keanu leaned back, his mind racing. Tyler couldn't wait months. He couldn't survive more waiting, more strangers, more cold beds in gray rooms. "What happens now?" Keanu asked. "I'll have to file a report," Josh said. "But off the record, I'm glad he found you." He stood, buttoned his coat, and nodded once more before leaving. Keanu sat in silence for a long time. Then he heard soft footsteps. "Are they going to take me away?" Tyler asked from the doorway. Keanu turned to him. "Not if I can help it." The next few days were tense. Keanu reached out to a lawyer, a kind woman named Elena who had once helped him during a charity case. She agreed to help, free of charge. "If we can prove abandonment and show you're acting in the child's best interest, we have a chance," she said. "But we'll need records, medical forms, statements, maybe even court appearances." Keanu nodded. "I'll do whatever it takes." Tyler listened quietly to all the phone calls. He didn't speak, but his eyes said everything. He was scared. That night, Keanu sat with him on the couch. "Do you want to stay here with me?" he asked. Tyler nodded. his voice barely above a whisper. "You're the only one who didn't leave. Me." Keanu wrapped an arm around him gently. "Then we're going to fight for that." Days turned to weeks. Keanu kept a low profile. No red carpets, no interviews. The media had moved on from the photo, but the system had not. A caseworker visited the apartment twice. The first time, Tyler didn't say a word. The second time, he brought out the chessboard and asked the woman if she wanted to learn. Keanu smiled. From the kitchen. After she left, she wrote in her notes, "The bond between them appears genuine. Boy displays trust and emotional stability in Mr. Reeves's presence." But not everyone was supportive. Online forums started digging into the photo again. Some people accused Keanu of hiding the boy for attention. Others made wild claims about why he hadn't reported him right away. Keanu ignored it all. He didn't owe the internet anything. All he cared about was the boy sitting at his dinner table. But the noise outside grew louder. One morning, Tyler opened Keanu's laptop and saw an article with his name in the headline, "Keanu Reeves under investigation for harboring missing child." His hands trembled. Keanu closed the laptop gently. "You don't have to look at that." "Are they mad at you?" Tyler asked. "I don't care if they are. But what if they take me anyway?" Keanu placed both hands on the boy's shoulders. "We keep going, one day at a time." The court date was set. Keanu was nervous, though he didn't show it. The courtroom wasn't the kind of place he belonged to, but he wore a simple black suit and Tyler wore a button-up shirt and jeans. They sat together on the long wooden bench, waiting to be called in. A man nearby muttered under his breath, "Just another celebrity stunt." Keanu didn't respond. Instead, he focused on Tyler, who sat quietly, hands folded, eyes locked on the courtroom door. "You okay?" Keanu whispered. "Scared," Tyler said. "Me too." Tyler blinked. "Really?" "Yeah, but being scared means you care, and caring is brave." Those words made Tyler smile, just a little. They were called in. The courtroom was small. A judge with tired eyes sat behind the bench. A woman from Child Services presented her report. Elena spoke clearly and confidently, detailing everything Keanu had done for Tyler. She presented receipts, statements, photos. Then the judge turned to Keanu. "Do you understand what you're asking?" "Yes," he said firmly. "You understand the responsibility of raising a child, legally and emotionally?" "I do." "And you, Tyler?" the judge asked gently. "Do you want to stay with Mr. Reeves?" Tyler looked up, his voice small but strong. "He's my family now." There was a pause, a deep silence that wrapped around the whole room. Then the judge spoke. "I'll take the request under consideration. Final decision in 5 days." The waiting was the hardest part. 5 days of not knowing, 5 days of pretending everything was normal while the future hung in the air. On the third night, Tyler fell asleep on the couch while Keanu read a book. He looked down at the boy, his small chest rising and falling, his face finally calm. Keanu closed the book and whispered to A. No, please. Let me protect him." The decision came on a Tuesday morning, a plain envelope, 1 page. Granted, legal guardianship, Keanu Charles Reeves, permanent placement approved. When Keanu told Tyler, the boy didn't say a word. He just jumped into his arms and held on for dear life. Neither of them let go for a long time, but the story was far from over, because the next day Keanu received a phone call from an unknown number. A voice on the other end said, "You don't know me, but I know who Tyler really is." And what Keanu heard next would shake the ground beneath both of them. Keanu stared at the phone, his hand frozen in midair. The voice on the other end sounded calm but serious. "I'm sorry to call like this," the woman continued, "but I've been searching for that boy for months." Keanu stepped away from the kitchen, lowering his voice so Tyler wouldn't hear. "Who are you?" "My name is Clara. I run a shelter in Nevada. Tyler's mother stayed with us before she passed." Keanu's eyes darkened slightly. He moved to the far end of the apartment. "Go on," he said, trying to keep his voice steady. "We didn't know she had a child at first. She kept it quiet. Tyler stayed with a friend while she was here. But just before she died, she told me she had a son. She gave me his name, his age. She made me promise to find him. Keanu listened carefully. How did you find me? I didn't. A woman in our shelter saw that photo of you online with a boy. She swore it was Tyler. I've spent the last few weeks tracing every detail. Today I finally found a number connected to your foundation. I had to try. Keanu closed his eyes. Part of him had hoped that Tyler's story, tragic as it was, had reached its final chapter. But something inside him knew it wasn't over. Not yet. What do you want? Keanu asked softly. To meet him, to talk to him. I'm not here to take him from you. I just want to know he's okay. Keanu hesitated. He is okay, he said gently. But this might stir things up again. Then I'll leave the choice to you. She gave him a phone number and address, then hung up. Keanu stood in silence. Outside, the city was waking up, cars rushing past the windows. Inside, Tyler sat cross-legged on the rug, building something with toy blocks Keanu had bought him last week. He looked up and smiled. You, okay? Tyler asked. Keanu nodded. But the truth was, he wasn't sure. That night, Keanu made warm tea and sat with Tyler on the couch. Can I tell you something? He asked. Tyler shrugged. Sure. Someone called me today. Her name is Clara. She says she knew your mom. The boy froze. His hands tightened around the edge of the blanket. Keanu kept his tone gentle. She said your mom talked about you, wanted to make sure someone would find you. Tyler's eyes grew red and his lips trembled. Why now? She didn't know where you went. She's been looking. Keanu waited. He didn't want to push. After a while, Tyler spoke again. I remember my mom saying she trusted someone at the shelter. She said, if anything happened, that person would know what to do. Do you want to meet her? Tyler wiped his eyes. Only if you come with me. Keanu placed a hand on the boy's shoulder, always. They flew out 2 days later. Keanu kept everything quiet. No media, no fanfare. Just 2 backpacks, a rental car, and a long drive through the dusty Nevada roads. As they passed through empty towns and quiet hills, Tyler stared out the window, silent. What if she doesn't remember me? He whispered. She will, Keanu replied. When they pulled into the shelter's parking lot, Tyler's grip on his seatbelt tightened. Clara stood outside waiting. She was in her late 50s, with silver hair tied back and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. When she saw them step out of the car, her hand flew to her mouth. Oh my God, she whispered. It is you. Tyler looked unsure, but then Clara knelt down slowly, tears already forming. Your mama loved you so much, she said. She talked about how brave you were, how smart, how you always tried to make her laugh even when she was sick. Tyler's lip trembled. Do you remember me? He asked. I remember the pictures she showed me, the way her eyes lit up when she talked about you. I remember her whispering your name in her sleep, and then Tyler did something he hadn't done in weeks. He ran, not away, toward, straight into Clara's arms. They stayed at the shelter for 3 days. Clara told stories about Tyler's mom, how she loved to sing, even when her voice cracked, how she used to draw little sketches of Tyler and tape them to the wall, how she would give away her blanket if someone else was cold. Tyler soaked it all in. Each word was like a piece of a puzzle he thought he'd never find again. Keanu watched quietly from the background, heart full. But on the second night, as Tyler sat on the porch staring at the stars, something shifted. I don't want to forget her, he said. You won't, Keanu said. But I feel happy sometimes. And then I feel bad for feeling happy. Keanu sat beside him. That's called grief. It doesn't mean you're forgetting. It means you're healing. Tyler leaned his head on Keanu's shoulder. Do you think she'd be proud of me? I know she would. On the 4th day, they prepared to leave. Clara hugged them both. Thank you for giving him a real home, she said. He gave me one too, Keanu replied. As they got into the car, Clara handed Tyler a small leather journal. "This was your mom's," she said. "She wrote in it every night." Tyler held it tight against his chest. Back in Los Angeles, things felt a little different. The apartment still smelled like old books and pancakes. The chessboard sat untouched on the coffee table. But now there was something more in the air. Not sadness, not fear. Something closer to peace. Tyler spent hours reading the journal. Sometimes he'd laugh. Sometimes he'd cry. And sometimes he'd just sit still, letting the words wrap around his heart. One night, after dinner, Tyler looked up. "Can I call you something?" Keanu raised an eyebrow. "Sure." Tyler looked nervous. "Can I call you Dad?" Keanu's eyes welled up. He reached across the table, took Tyler's hand, and whispered, "I'd be honored." But life wasn't done testing them. One evening, Tyler was walking home from school with his friend Jaden when a black car pulled up to the curb. A man in a suit stepped out. He wasn't from Child Services. He wasn't a reporter. He was someone worse. "You're Tyler, right?" the man asked casually. Tyler froze. Jaden grabbed his arm. "Don't talk to him," he whispered. But the man smiled. "Tell your father I need to speak with him. It's about the boy's real inheritance." Then he stepped back into the car and drove away. Tyler ran all the way home, heart pounding. And when Keanu heard the story, he didn't speak for a long time, because the name on the card the man had given Tyler was the same name from an old article Keanu had read years ago. A billionaire tycoon whose daughter had died in poverty and whose grandson had disappeared. Keanu sat on the couch, his hand tightening around the small white card that Tyler had handed him. The name printed in bold black letters was short and clean, but the meaning behind it felt heavy. Thomas V. Lancaster. Keanu had heard the name before. Years ago, during a charity event, someone had whispered about him. Real estate, oil, stocks, one of those men who built a kingdom so high that even clouds looked up at it. He stayed away from cameras, but his money spoke in every major city. Keanu looked up at Tyler, who stood by the window, watching the world like it might suddenly fall apart. "Do you remember your mother saying anything about him?" Keanu asked gently. Tyler shook his head. "She never talked about family, just said we were on our own." Keanu exhaled slowly. "This man says he's your grandfather." Tyler turned to him. "What does that mean?" Keanu knelt down in front of him. "It means we need to be careful." That night, Keanu couldn't sleep. He stayed up reading every article, every archived interview, every lawsuit involving Thomas Lancaster. There wasn't much. The man was like a shadow, rich, powerful, untouchable. But one article stood out. Heiress disappears after being cut off by father. It was dated 12 years ago. A young woman named Madeline Lancaster, estranged daughter of Thomas, had vanished from the family scene after a heated public falling out. She had refused an arranged marriage, turned her back on the corporate empire, and walked away. The article said she changed her last name, and her child, rumored to exist but never confirmed. Keanu sat back in his chair, heart pounding. Madeline Lancaster was Tyler's mother, and Thomas hadn't just found him by chance. He'd been looking. The next morning, a letter arrived. No return address. Inside was a single sheet of thick, cream-colored paper. Keanu unfolded it and read aloud. "Dear Mr. Reeves, we both care about the same boy. I have resources, answers, and blood ties. Let's talk. I'll wait at the Marlowe Hotel, Suite 1919 this Friday. Come alone, Thomas V. Lancaster." Keanu read it twice. Tyler looked nervous. "Are you going to go?" Keanu nodded slowly. "I have to, but you're not coming. This man, I don't trust him." Tyler looked down. "What if he wants me?" Keanu stepped closer and placed both hands on his shoulders. "He may be your blood, but I'm your home." Tyler's eyes filled, but he nodded. Friday came fast. Keanu wore a simple black coat and arrived at the Marlowe Hotel just after sunset. The elevator was lined with mirrors, and every second that ticked felt like a drumbeat against his chest. When the doors opened on the 19th floor, a tall man in a black suit greeted him. This way. Keanu followed him to the end of the hallway. The door opened to a luxurious suite, glass chandeliers, gold-trimmed furniture, and floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. And there, standing beside a grand piano, was Thomas Lancaster. He was in his 70s, tall and stiff like an old statue. His silver hair was slicked back and his eyes were ice. "Mr. Reeves," he said, offering a hand. "Thank you for coming." Keanu didn't shake it. "You sent a child to deliver a message." "I didn't touch the boy," Thomas said calmly. "Just needed to get your attention. And it worked." Keanu said nothing. "Tea?" Thomas asked. "No." The older man poured himself a drink anyway. "Let's be direct. That boy is my grandson. His mother, Madeline, was my daughter. She left, disappeared, humiliated me. And now I discover she had a child and died in poverty while you—" He paused, swirling his drink on "you took him in." "He's not a trophy," Keanu said coldly. "He's a child, one who's been through more pain than most adults ever face." "I'm not here to fight," Thomas said. "I'm here to offer." Keanu narrowed his eyes. "Offer what?" "A future," Thomas said simply. "Money, education, opportunity. I can give him things you can't." Keanu clenched his fists. "He doesn't need things. He needs love." Thomas smiled faintly. "A nice sentiment. But love doesn't open doors in this world, blood does." "Then why didn't you open your door when your daughter needed you?" The room fell silent. Thomas's jaw tightened. Madeline made her choice, and Tyler paid the price. The older man placed his glass down with a soft clink. "I want to meet him. Nothing more, for now. I'll make no legal claims. I give you my word." Keanu stared at him. "Your word doesn't mean much to me." "Still," Thomas said, "ask him. If he wants to meet me, bring him, Sunday, same place." Keanu told Tyler everything when he got home. The boy sat on the couch, legs curled under him, silent. "You don't have to go," Keanu said. "This is your choice." Tyler looked out the window, then back at Keanu. "Can you come with me?" "Always." "Okay," Tyler said softly. "I want to know what he has to say." Sunday came with gray skies. The rain tapped gently on the windows as Keanu and Tyler stood in the same suite, facing the man whose veins held the same blood. Thomas sat in a leather armchair. "Hello, Tyler," he said with an unreadable expression. Tyler stayed close to Keanu. "Did you know my mom?" he asked. Thomas nodded. "Yes, but not as well as I should have." "Did you love her?" The question caught Thomas off guard. He looked away for a moment. "I did. In my own way." "Then why did she leave?" Tyler asked, voice trembling. Thomas took a deep breath. "Because I tried to control her. I thought I was protecting her, but I was just afraid of losing my legacy." "You lost her anyway," Tyler said. The silence that followed was thick. "You look like her," Thomas finally said. "You have her eyes." Tyler's lip quivered. "She used to sing," he whispered. "She had a little notebook." "I know," Thomas said. "She used to hum when she cooked, off-key but full of joy." Tyler blinked. "You remember that?" Thomas nodded. "I remember everything." They talked for a while longer, and when it was time to leave, Thomas handed Tyler a small box. "This belonged to your mother. She left it behind. I kept it, in case." Tyler took it in his small hands and held it close. "Thank you," he said quietly. Thomas turned to Keanu. "You've done right by him," he said. "More than I ever did. I won't interfere." Keanu nodded once, but as they turned to leave, Thomas added, "Unless he asks for more, I'll always be here." Back home, Tyler opened the box. Inside was a locket with a tiny photo of Madeline holding a baby. Him. There was also a crumpled letter in her handwriting. "If anyone finds this, please know. I loved him more than life. If my father ever finds him, tell him not to buy Tyler's love. Earn it." Because Tyler's heart can't be bought. Tyler showed the letter to Keanu, then whispered, "I still want to live with you, but maybe one day I'll talk to him again." Keanu pulled him into a hug. "You'll always have that choice." But 3 weeks later, everything changed again. Keanu walked into the kitchen to find Tyler gone. His backpack, his shoes, missing. On the counter was a note in shaky handwriting. "I'm sorry. I have to know who I really am. Don't come looking for me." And taped to the note was Thomas Lancaster's business card. Keanu Reeves stood, motionless in the kitchen, the morning sun casting long shadows across the cold tile floor. The note trembled in his hands as he read it again. "I'm sorry. I have to know who I really am. Don't come looking for me." Tyler's handwriting was small, uncertain, and the words felt like tiny knives pressed into Keanu's chest. Taped to the bottom was the cold white card. Thomas V. Lancaster. Keanu didn't panic. He didn't scream. He just sat down at the kitchen table, closed his eyes, and let the silence soak in. He had known this moment might come. He just hadn't expected it so soon. 2 hours later, Keanu called Thomas. The phone rang twice before the older man answered. "You have him, don't you?" Keanu said, skipping any greeting. "He came to me on his own." Thomas replied calmly. "I was just as surprised as you. Is he safe?" "Yes." "Put him on the phone." "Not yet." Keanu's voice turned cold. "If you try to manipulate him..." "Mr. Reeves, I understand your concern, but Tyler has questions. And I am giving him answers, that's all." Keanu gritted his teeth. "He's a child, not a puzzle piece in your broken legacy." There was a long pause. "He'll call you when he's ready," Thomas said, then hung up. Keanu stared at the phone for a long time. That night, the apartment felt empty. Not quiet. Empty. Every corner felt like it was waiting for Tyler to walk back. Into it. His half-finished chess game on the coffee table. His sketchbook on the floor. His hoodie still hanging on the back of the chair. Keanu sat in the dark for hours thinking about how the world pulls people apart even when love tries to hold them together. Thinking about how fast someone can go from lost to found, and back again. But mostly he thought about what it meant to let someone go, and trust they'd find their way home. Meanwhile, Tyler sat in a high-rise penthouse that smelled like money and polished marble. Thomas had given him his own room. Soft bed, clean clothes, books stacked on a new desk. It should have felt like a dream, but it didn't. It felt like a museum. On the surface, Thomas was kind. He asked questions. He told stories about Madeline, how she once rode a horse through the family vineyard just to annoy the staff. He showed Tyler baby photos, family portraits, private planes. He took him to fancy dinners, called him grandson, introduced him to lawyers. But something was missing. There was no warmth. No late-night pancakes. No sitting on the couch in pajamas, no quiet talks on the porch about the stars. Every conversation had a weight behind it. A pressure. A quiet expectation. And Tyler felt it. One night, Tyler found himself wandering the hallway. He passed by Thomas's study and paused when he heard voices inside. "The Reeves boy?" "We can mold him," someone said. "His last name isn't Reeves," Thomas corrected. "But yes, with proper schooling, a clean public appearance, he could carry the Lancaster name into the next century." Tyler's breath caught. He stepped back quickly and ran to his room. He sat on the bed, his heart pounding. So that's what this was. He wasn't here because of love. He was here because of blood, because of legacy, just like his mom had warned in her journal. He picked up her leather notebook from the bedside drawer and opened to the final page. "Tyler, if you're reading this, trust your heart. Not names, not promises, not blood. Home isn't where you come from. It's where you're loved." His hands trembled. His throat tightened, and for the first time since arriving, he picked up the phone and called Keanu. Keanu answered before the first ring ended. "Tyler," the boy's voice was small. "I'm sorry." Keanu's chest ached. "Are you okay?" Not really. Do you want to come home? Tyler paused. Can I? You never stopped being home. Tyler sniffled. I want pancakes. Keanu smiled, eyes wet. They'll be waiting. Keanu booked the next flight, but Thomas wasn't going to let Tyler go so easily. When Keanu arrived at the penthouse, security blocked the door. He's not leaving, Thomas said, stepping forward. He belongs here. Keanu didn't raise his voice. He simply looked Thomas in the eye and said, Ask him. Thomas hesitated. Tyler appeared behind him. I heard what you said in your office, he said softly. Thomas blinked. That was a private. You don't see me, Tyler said, voice cracking. You just see the name, the blood. But Keanu sees me. Thomas looked at the boy, something flickering in his expression. I'm sorry, he said finally. I just wanted to fix what I broke. Then let me go, Tyler whispered. The silence hung like smoke. And then Thomas stepped aside. Back home, the first thing Tyler did was toss his shoes off and curl up on the couch. Keanu handed him a plate of warm pancakes with blueberries. They ate in comfortable silence. Later that night, as they played chess under soft lamplight, Tyler asked, Do you think he ever really loved my mom? Keanu nodded. In his own way, maybe, but sometimes love gets buried under power, and people forget what it's for. Tyler looked at the chessboard. I don't want to be a Lancaster. Keanu gently moved a pawn forward. You already are who you're meant to be, Tyler. And that's more than any last name could offer. But just when everything seemed to be healing, something new arrived in the mail. A legal envelope. No return address inside was a will. Madeline's will. Somehow it had surfaced, hidden in an old safe from the shelter she once stayed in. In it, she had named a guardian for her child. Not her father, not any relative, but a name she had scribbled, and during her last weeks never filed officially, but enough to raise legal questions. If I die, and if this person still walks the earth, let him raise my boy. He will give him what no mansion can. The name written, Keanu Reeves. Rain tapped against the window as Keanu Reeves sat at the kitchen table, the envelope open before him. The paper inside felt heavier than it looked, not because of its weight, but because of what it carried. Madeline's will. Her handwriting was shaky but clear, emotional but purposeful. If I die, and if this person still walks the earth, let him raise my boy. He will give him what no mansion can. Keanu Reeves, he read it again and again, stunned by the gravity of it. Madeline had written this before she passed, maybe while sick, maybe while scared. But even then, she had trusted him. And she didn't even know him. Not truly. Yet somehow, she had seen past the fame, the money, the headlines. She had looked into something deeper, something real. A man who would protect her child without expecting anything in return. Tyler was asleep when Keanu placed the will on the nightstand. The boy was curled up in bed, one arm around his mother's old journal. Keanu sat beside him, brushed a strand of hair from his forehead and whispered. She knew. Even when she was gone, she knew. He didn't sleep that night. He just watched, over Tyler like he had from the beginning, not as a guest in his life, not as a temporary guardian, but as his father. The next morning, Keanu called Elena, the lawyer who had helped him through the original guardianship. When she saw the scanned copy of the will, she gasped. This changes everything, she said. It may not be officially filed, but it's signed, dated, and her intentions are clear. Will it hold up in court? Keanu asked. It might, but Thomas could challenge it. Let him, Keanu said firmly. I'm not afraid of him. But surprisingly, Thomas didn't challenge it. He didn't send lawyers. He didn't call. He didn't appear. Instead, a letter arrived, handwritten. No seal, no signature at the bottom. Just 4 words. I understand. Be well. Keanu read it in silence, then folded it and placed it in Tyler's keepsake box. The past had finally made peace with the present. Months passed. Life settled into a beautiful rhythm. Keanu took time off from filming and devoted himself fully to being Tyler's father. They spent mornings cooking breakfast together, afternoons biking through the park, and evenings reading or playing chess. Tyler enrolled in school under a new name. Not a Lancaster, not a Reeves, just Tyler Gray, a name he chose for himself. Because gray is what the world looked like before I found you, he explained to Keanu. Now it's got color again. Keanu smiled. You brought the color, Tyler, not me. One Saturday, they visited a community center where Keanu had once volunteered. It was crowded, loud, and full of children running around. Tyler watched as a boy in the corner sat alone, knees pulled to his chest. Without being told, Tyler walked over, sat next to him, and offered a cookie he had saved from lunch. The boy took it slowly, then whispered, "Thanks." Keanu stood across the room watching it all. "You've got a good heart," he said when Tyler returned. "I learned from the best," Tyler replied. The story of Tyler's journey eventually reached the media. Someone leaked a photo of him and Keanu playing chess on the porch. The headline read, "From Street to Sanctuary. Keanu Reeves adopts homeless boy after heartbreaking twist." Keanu wasn't thrilled. He never wanted attention, but he saw how Tyler handled it. With calm, quiet strength. He didn't give interviews. He didn't make speeches. But one day, he did something unexpected. He wrote a letter. A letter meant not for reporters, but for kids like him. Keanu found it on the dining table one morning, written in Tyler's blocky handwriting. To anyone out there feeling alone, forgotten, or scared, I was once like you. I slept under desks, I ate from trash cans, I thought no one would ever see me. But someone did. And now I know this. You matter. Your story isn't over. You are not invisible. One day, you'll find your person. The one who stays. Until then, keep walking. Even when it hurts. Love, Tyler. Keanu cried when he read it. And that afternoon, they printed copies and taped them to bulletin boards at shelters all across the city. On Tyler's birthday, they visited his mother's resting place. They left flowers, her favorite color, yellow. Keanu placed a small note by the headstone. You gave him life. He gave me mine. Tyler sat beside him, pulling out the locket and holding it tight. I think she'd be happy, he said. Keanu looked at him, his heart full. I think she already is. Years passed. Tyler grew taller, stronger. His eyes stayed the same, curious, kind, and full of quiet fire. Keanu never stopped being his dad. He cheered at school recitals. He helped with math homework. He showed up always. And Tyler never forgot where he came from. When he turned 18, he started a scholarship fund. For kids like him. For boys and girls who just needed one person to believe in them. He called it the Underdesk Foundation. And its mission was simple. Find the ones hiding. And bring them home. One day, at a small community event, a young reporter asked Tyler, now grown, what was the moment that changed your life? Tyler smiled, eyes glowing. The moment someone saw me, he said. When he didn't walk away, the reporter tilted her head. And what did he give you? Tyler looked across, the room where Keanu stood helping a kid fix a broken chess piece, and with a gentle smile he said, everything.